this great density. Could you please explain to our audience what do you mean by that? And the whole process, what is it that you see?
Well, what I've noticed, and first let me say I've been doing this work only 15 years, but in 15 years I've done almost 100,000 healings, and so everything I say is based on what I have experienced. You know, it's just based on what I see every day. And what I was talking about in the movie is that humans have, for whatever reason, there's no judgment, humans have learned to hold on to their emotions, not to express them. You know, I remember as a little boy I was always told to be a man and be quiet, or don't cry, or don't get angry, or just be quiet. You know, and so I think a lot of us have been trained to be quiet instead of expressing emotions. To me, there's no such thing as a bad emotion, they're just emotions. You know, we're really fortunate as humans because we actually get to feel emotions. You know, rocks don't, trees don't, most animals don't. You know, we get to feel love and we also get to feel anger. So to me, we've been trained, and I don't know why, and it doesn't matter, we've been trained to hold on. And what happens is that we hold on to the emotions and they stack, they kind of like stack up in your body, and it creates what I call density, which creates what people refer to as blockages. And the way we were designed as humans a long time ago by God, I believe, is we were meant to be light beings, filled with light, which meant we were filled with health, filled with abundance. And somewhere along the line we lost our faith in that, or were told not to believe that, and began to hold on to, we were afraid to speak, we were afraid to cry. And so all of that stacks, creates density, creates blockages, and what that creates, in my belief, is stagnation. And so when the light from God cannot get into your body and your body becomes stagnant, all kinds of stuff happens, right? And so I say to people, imagine that at the moment of your conception, and this is what I believe, you brought forward all of the experiences in all of your lifetimes that you never completed or expressed. That's a lot. And you were gifted by your lineage 7 generations of all the stuff they never expressed. So instead of being this beautiful little light being at conception, you're a mess, right? And then you feel all the feelings that your mom and dad feel during pregnancy, and then you experience the birth process, and then you experience being a child, and you experience being a teenager, and here we are now, completely blocked up with stuff when God meant us to be these light beings. And so imagine, the reason I say all that is imagine that at the moment of your conception, it was like you were a kitchen sink filled with water, and it's never been drained in all these years. In fact, we've added more emotions to this water. I mean, imagine, and you know what a pool of water looks like after it's been sitting for a week. Imagine 50 years or 50 lifetimes, right? And so we have all this energy that's wanting to be moving through us, but it can't because we have density and stagnation creates opportunity, and opportunity based on our lineage or path or whatever, but based on the type of emotion it is and where it's set in the body, it's going to create an opportunity for something to occur, which is usually called a diagnosis, or what I call somebody else's opinion, right? And so that's what I work with every day, is to, to break into that density, allow God's light to come back into your body, and when that happens, it starts to break apart things. It starts to allow the stagnation to flow out, the light to flow in, and healing occurs. And it's really that simple. It's like imagine that your body was a tall building and all the plumbing has been stopped for 50 years, 60 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. Imagine all that stuff just backs up. Of course you're going to have a problem, right? I mean, come on, really? And, so in my opinion, blood tests were designed by drug companies in order to go get a lab test and therefore justify a prescription that all it does is adds more stuff into the mix. It doesn't cure anything, it doesn't remove any blockages, it just taps it down so you can't feel it. And then at some point, you know those whack-a-mole things that you do at the carnival? You know, drugs to me push it down over here and eventually it pops up over here, and then you gotta get another one, another drug. And then it pops up over here and then you get another drug. And most people our age are taking, I mean, they're carrying a bag around of prescription drugs, right, that aren't doing anything. What needs to happen is I like to see, you want to put people in a jewelry, one of those electronic jewelry cleaners, you know, high frequency, turn up the thing, shake the junk off of them so that their body can receive God's light so they can be healed. Does that make sense? I mean, that's how I look at all this. It's really pretty, it's plumbing and vibration.
I want to tell our audience, I don't know Rob. I saw him in the movie. I have no knowledge about what he does. But everything that he said is, I agree 100%. I love what you said because it's so well explained and it's easy to understand. So what I hear is that this accumulation of density doesn't let the light flow, and that produce symptoms that the medical system call what?
Whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. I mean, it can be panic attacks, it can be fibromyalgia, it can be Crohn's disease, it can be cancer, it can be an addiction, it can be depression, it can be anything, right? And what I've noticed is if you look at your family history and you look at what's been, you know, people go, everybody in my family has this. Well, of course, because they keep passing it forward, and every time it gets passed forward, it gets more powerful. You know, people wonder why there's so many children now with allergies, or with ADD or whatever. It's because it keeps getting passed forward and strengthening as it passes forward. And you know, all we got to do is turn the lights back on, and everything changes.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about these people who use visualizations to bring light or meditate and bring this energy in the body?
I think it's a wonderful way to practice. What I've noticed is that sometimes you got to use more than that, like dynamite. You know, because all of that is going to keep you healthier, but until you actually break apart the density, it's not. It's helping you, but it's not getting you where you want to be. So, you know, I remember, and I think we're about the same age. I remember, you know, like in the 70s, I think it was the 70s, where the big thing was primal screaming. Remember that? You know, people used to have seminars on how to scream. And, you know, and just a good scream has so much vibration to it. And especially a deep scream gets deep into your body. The densities are low vibration, right? So if you can make it sound like a growling bear, and a lot of it, it's going to help move it, and then you bring the light in after that. So to me, a good scream and a good growl, and then a meditation to bring the light in is a great combination, because you gotta move it. You can't just bring it in. You gotta move it out, then bring it in.
Well, I agree with you, because this is important for people to know that visualization. There are many people that I know they heal with this visualization, but many times it's not enough. Now, when you were talking about that we create this density, whether in this lifetime or in others, what about that we are storing the emotions? But what about a person who has been abused? So it's not that this person chose to store an emotion day by day. She or he had a trauma, and that thing also is stored. What is the difference?
Not really much difference. I mean, think about every energetic input that you get that is not coming from love will create an energetic imprint in your body. If I say, I love you, that feels good, and your body goes, oh, right? And it uses that energy to expand its light body. If I say you're stupid and I hate you and go to your room and I smack you, all of that creates negative imprint. I don't like the word negative, but people understand it. It creates an imprint that is not from love. And that imprint goes to all the other, layers onto all the other imprints that have been similar to that. So somebody that's had abuse, it wasn't their fault, but they experienced it. And usually abusive people are told to be quiet, and so they can't express it. They're afraid to express it. And so the imprint sticks, and it brings more. I work with a lot of women and men that say, I always attract abusive partners. Why is that? Well, because all of that abusive energy is very powerful, and there's this thing that everybody knows called the law of attraction. And so your most powerful energy is come abuse me, even though that's not what you want, and you keep bringing it. So the work that I do is we remove the density, the emotion, and we don't have to go into the story, we don't have to go into who did it and what. We just go in there and break apart that density, which removes the imprint, which takes away the law of attraction. All of a sudden, that old energy that used to be come abuse me is now, because it's God's light, is come love me. And so people start to bring people into their world that are respectful and loving. It's amazing, and it can happen like that when you just break it apart.
Yes, I would like to talk about a very sensitive subject that is very dear to my heart in the sense it's painful, sexual abuse. Have you worked with people with sexual abuse? Were they able to heal and move on in life?
All the time. And the answer is yes, they've been able to move forward. And actually what happens with a lot of people, let me just explain something that I like to explain because people get it. Imagine that your body is Google. Okay? So imagine that every experience you've ever had in every lifetime, and all of your lineages experiences in every lifetime, is filed in this body called Google. And it's filed just like Google does. It's got keywords, it's got power, it's got frequency of Googled, all of that. And so when you think of something, it can be, look outside and it's cloudy, or you can think about abuse, or you can think about anything, your brain immediately types in whatever that was. It could be spaghetti, right? Doesn't matter. Whatever your experience in that second is, emotional, physical, mental, whatever, is being Googled. All the time, all day long, 24 hours a day. It goes into your body and searches for all the files. I mean, give me something, sexual abuse, right?
Yes, but it could be triggered by a song.
It could be triggered by a song. It could be by a picture, or anything. Mind Googles it, goes into your body, brings all those files up, just like Google does, files them in order of most powerful files, most commonly accessed files. This happens in a split second, right? And unlike Google, what happens is it opens all the files. So you see, let's say you see a black cat, the black cat is just a little black cat walking across the street, has nothing to do with anything you're about to react to. But your mind Googles it, you have this huge reaction to a black cat. You freak out or whatever you do, and so you're doing that all day long. It could be seeing a picture of an old girlfriend or boyfriend or partner or a child or whatever it is, but your mind's Googling into your emotional body all day long, and you're reacting. And every one of those reactions has nothing to do with this present. It has everything to do with history.
And that could bring more toxic emotion.
And as soon as you think about it, it adds more energy to the imprint, okay? So, long answer, but with sexual abuse or addictions or whatever. What happens in this work is the light actually removes those files. So when the brain Googles black cat, it's weird because people have this, they can feel their mind looking for the old response, but it can't find it. It gets, I like to use Wikipedia. It gets the Wikipedia file, which is a black cat is a feline, blah, 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 which neutral, answer, no emotion, and the person is, wow. So that's what happens with people often that have sexual abuse or things like that. And the thing that's important is that for whatever reason, some people aren't ready to let that go. It's serving them in some way. They actually are addicted to whatever it is in some way. No judgment. They are. And when they're in that space, you can help neutralize it, but it still kind of hangs on because they're hanging on to it.
So what I understand is when this density or energy blockage is removed, there is no more reaction to that stimuli.
No.
Exactly. Now, going a little down the steps of emotion, a broken heart. There are people who live with a broken heart, I know, from months to years. I know a person that went for 10 years with a broken heart. He resorts to drugs, to alcohol, and finally he has to do something drastic, and he healed from that. Is a broken heart, whether it's a romantic relationship that didn't work or a loved one who died, also in this category?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I was at Omega Institute last weekend in New York doing a 3-day workshop. On Saturday night, I did an open event so anybody at Omega could come. They weren't even in my class. It's always interesting to me that what people wear on their body and what it says on their body, right? This woman was in my group, and she had a sweatshirt that said happiness on it. She said that she had been depressed from a broken heart for 41 years. And she hadn't been able to get over that. You could see it in her body, you could see it in her face. You couldn't see it on the sweatshirt because it said happiness, right? And it was because her daddy died. And, you know, and when I work with people, I don't want the story around it. I didn't even ask her, but she volunteered. I've had a broken heart for 41 years. I haven't been able to move forward in my life for 41 years because my daddy died. Okay, so, you know, broken heart is grief. And a lot of times with grief, there's betrayal because you feel betrayed by God, or you feel betrayed by something. And all of that is held right here in the body, the lungs and the heart. And so, which is interesting because the word happiness was right across, you know, I just find it fascinating. You know, the soul is guiding you into where you need to work by wanting you to buy that t-shirt or sweatshirt that says happiness. It's right across here. And honestly, and you know, there were a few hundred people in the room that saw this happen, but within 10 minutes of me putting one hand on her, in front of her and one on the back, and just bringing the light into that space, I mean, yes, she cried, and yes, she, you know, she said, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," a few times, but within 10 minutes, she had the biggest grin on her face. She says, "Oh my God, I finally, after 41 years, I'm not feeling that anymore." So, you know, pick a subject. And you know, again, everybody needs to understand, I'm not the one doing the work. It's not me. You know, don't go, Rob's really a cool guy. Rob's just a normal dude like everybody else that gets angry and depressed and afraid and pissed off and beeps at somebody in traffic. You know, I'm not some holy dude walking around. You know, but I'm very respectful to what I do, but it's not me. And so, you know, when that happens, you know, and the cool thing that happens is when you're in a group session, everybody in the group is also getting their broken heart mended, and their grief and betrayal released, and and I'm crying too because I've had a broken heart and been betrayed and all that stuff. So I'm in it with everybody else. I'm just in a little different place because I'm observing somebody that looks like me doing something with somebody. But yeah.
Two things. One is that you mentioned the woman has the happiness word in her shirt, but you saw her pain on her face.
Mm-hmm.
We are able to see the pain and the toxic energy in the face of people. Why? One of the things is our eyes are the windows of our soul. If in our soul, in our energy, we have all this density and toxic energies, we cannot hide it. And this is why people have challenges with relationship or things, because they are bringing that toxic energy in the environment. And the second that I really, really love is that it arouses something that is crucial and simple. We are not doing this work. It's the light. The light, right. This energy, which is light, that is in, what is darkness? It's the absence of light. When we bring light in the way that you do it with your hands, that darkness, the density, has to go away. There is no other choice, right?
Exactly. And two things. Many people don't know about iridology. Do you?
I know.
Okay,
I
so
know.
many people don't. I worked with I think I'm saying it right, I'm not sure. I was not sure about how to pronounce that word. Iridology, but I worked with an iridologist years ago, and she would take close-up photographs of people's eyes before they worked with me, and then take them after they worked with me. And an iridologist can see everything, right? You weren't rocked as a child, you need more vitamin C, you had an abusive father. I mean, it's all in your eyes. And one of the things, if you ever see me work live with people, what I always say to the people is, look at the eyes. Because the eyes immediately become brighter and clearer and can even change color, because as the body releases this stuff, it's immediately noticeable in the eyes. And so people that see me look like zombies almost, because they have these bright open eyes, because a lot of that stuff is gone. And the other thing I want to say is that once it's gone, what happens is that density, that space that was being taken up by the density, is now being filled with light. And the light is more powerful than the density, so you'd have to work really hard. I mean, it's almost impossible to push the light out and bring density. And what'll happen is it'll dig deeper and you'll feel deeper stuff. But once you get the light anchored in the body, you can't get rid of it.
I want to explain this because this is amazingly crucial. I know about ideology since I was 18. I had two friends, MDs, who started practicing homeopathy, and they both did ideology. At one time, I was about 22, 23, and this friend of mine comes just to practice. He was an MD and doing ideology, looked into my eyes and says, "Carlos, your eyes are so clean." And then I told him, "Of course, because I've been fasting for 3 days." What happened is that all the organs of the body are reflected in the eyes. And then the person who does this work, they know exactly where are the challenges. And they do it with a mathematical way, because this section of the eye belongs to the liver and so on. And when there is density, they can see it. This is why what you said is so crucial, and you forgot to tell me what the ideology says after your session, what she saw, but we can see this toxicity. And when the toxicity is not there is when we have bright eyes.
Right.
Right?
Right. To me, instead of getting an MRI, you ought to go see an iridologist, because
exactly.
they can see everything.
Exactly.
And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars and subject your body to that.
But what did the ideology say?
Well, they could see the emotional patterns that have been removed. They could see the physical illnesses that have been removed. I mean, they could see everything.
Exactly.
And people used to say to me, "How do you prove it?" I'm like, "Watch this." And they still, of course, that's okay. But I loved it because it was so amazing to see what would happen to the eyes in a few minutes. It's not a trick.
I love that because I never heard somebody doing that, but I love the process of it.
We used to do live blood work, before and after.
Mhm.
And because everybody wants to know that this is not some hocus pocus, and it's there, it's real.
But what happened, Robert, my understanding is we are in times that people understand about energy. And some people ask, for example, when you do your workshops, you are working with one person, but everybody is getting the benefits of the healing. This is a distance healing. And people ask, how does it work? Well, it works more or less or exactly like your cellular phone. There is a transmission of an energy field, and we all can receive that. And that's why in your workshops, everybody gets this healing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you, people with a little more serious health condition, like cancer, like rheumatoid arthritis, and they have tried everything, and they are still skeptical, what would you tell them? What the main question is when somebody is diagnosed and they don't want to go through the conventional treatment, they don't know what to do. What would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I tell them to do is stay off Google. Because what I notice with people is they do all the research about how to cure themselves or how they got whatever, and there's so much stuff out there and most of it's not right. And so my first thing is stay off Google, find a really good, and this is my own opinion, find a trained and certified functional medicine doctor, because your body is unique from everybody else's body. Your body chemistry is unique. Everything about you is unique. And if Dr. Oz says if you have cancer, drink bone broth, about 25% of the people that's good for, and about 25% of the people it'll actually make the cancer grow. And so if you don't know your body chemistry, don't go on Google and start taking supplements and doing stuff. Find a functional medicine doctor, not an MD, they're physicians, and they can be chiropractors as well, that understands how to test your body chemistry, because the cure is almost always in the chemistry of your body and the emotional release. So if I see somebody with stage 4 cancer, which I see all the time, I ask them what they're doing for their body other than coming to see me. And I often, and it's hard because people have stage 4 cancer or something like that, and there's so much pressure from the medical community and from the families. I think the word, I spend my life on airplanes, and by some coincidence, I've had to sit next to oncologists often on a plane. And, I just strike up a conversation, right? I don't tell them what I do. They're just like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I tell them I'm retired or something, right? And I'm an oncologist. I'm like, oh, seriously? What would you do if your partner got diagnosed? Would you put him on chemo? They always say, hell no. And I get all this information from the doctors, but that's what they're trained to do. I used to be in the medical business long ago, and I understand liability and the fact that they have to provide you with a worst case scenario, because if they don't, and something like that happens, they get sued. So they're going to tell you the worst possible ending for your story, and if you believe it, you're going to create it. So, number one, stop Googling. Number two, find a really good functional medicine doctor and understand. And my wife had cancer, and she said it was the greatest gift that ever happened. I'm writing a book that hopefully will be finished soon. It's called Illness is the Cure, because for me, a cancer diagnosis, a Crohn's diagnosis, a fibromyalgia diagnosis, whatever a diagnosis is your body telling you it's packaged up all your stuff in a way that you can't avoid it anymore, and this is your life-changing opportunity to get rid of it. And so somebody tells you have something, first of all, consider it a gift, and second of all, don't go down the road with what everybody else does. find out what's really going on with you. You know, breast cancer with women, in my opinion, is breasts are nurturing. This is what a woman does with their breasts. They nurture, right? And so I look at women that have breast cancer, and they spend their whole lives nurturing their children, nurturing their partner, nurturing their job, nurturing everybody else but them. At some point in their life, they realize that they've nurtured everybody else, and they become angry. And by nurturing, this is just my opinion, okay? You guys can blow me up. But they've nurtured and created a void of nurturing for themselves, and then they get angry about it. Mm-hmm. And into that void goes anger. Anger is one of the base energies of cancer. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know if this is true, but somebody told me long ago that there's more incidence of breast cancer in the left breast than there is in the right breast.
Yes.
And the left breast is your feminine breast. So if you've given all of your feminine energy to your family and everybody else,
yes,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but the next step is to go and find a good energy healer or somebody who helps you to release,
break the density.
To break the density. And just to confirm everything that you have said, I agree with what you said about the root cause of breast cancer. When I was in the clinic, I work in integrative cancer treatment for 23 years, I was interviewing the women with breast cancer, and without me asking, they were telling me of the toxic relationships, the painful breakups. And they realized, without nobody telling them, that that was at the root cause of cancer. About 3 years ago, I interviewed Dr. Antonio Jimenez, a very well-known oncology doctor. He has 2 clinics in Mexico. And he said, there is always an emotional trauma at the root cause of cancer. And he mentioned this woman, about in his 60s, that the cancer was there, was not going anywhere, not growing, but not also disappearing. And he asked her, is there anything you can tell me that I don't know to see if we can do an improvement? She was in her 60s, and she said, when I was a child, I was sexually abused by my father, my grandfather, and my uncle, and I never told this to anyone. What Rob was saying, storing emotions. So Dr. Jimenez, who is a very open mind and her doctor, MD, looked for an energy healer or a shaman in Mexico, and he said, after some healing, emotional healing, the cancer was falling off by itself. That's just to support everything that Rob is saying. Mm-hmm. Rob, I just don't know what to ask you, but I know that we can be talking for the rest of the day.
Sure. And
I love this conversation. Do you want to tell our audience something that they can start doing right now if they are diagnosed with any health condition that is tough? What would be an advice?
Well, several things. First of all, I am not religious in that I don't go to church and I don't worship something. And so I want to make that clear first. I'm not swayed by different religions. I don't have one favorite. Because it's all the same to me. So what I'm going to say is that the first thing that I would do is simply allow yourself to surrender to the energy of the divine. And people say, well, how do I do that? And to me, surrender is just accepting the truth that you have the right, the divine right to be healthy. So surrendering into knowing that you have the divine right to be healthy, that's the first thing. And asking for help. We all have many angels around us. And, we have all these beings around us. We have our family around us. We're surrounded by these spiritual beings. And they have one job and one job only, and that is to help us. And what people don't understand is that, people go back to the genie. I only get 3 wishes, or I can only ask for one thing, or I'm being greedy, or if I ask God to help me, He's not helping somebody else. all those crazy things that we have. And what I know is that all of us are surrounded by these beautiful beings, and they're here to help us, and we, because of free will, must ask them to help us. We can't just expect them to help us. We've got to ask for it. We've got to be grateful for it. We've got to trust for it. And we need to believe that by them helping us, we're helping them. Because even a being on the other side is on a spiritual path and moving up the channel of enlightenment, of vibrational increases. So the more they help us, the more we help them. So it's not a question of being greedy, it's a question about an energy exchange that needs to occur. So, that's the first thing. Trust and believe that your body is telling you something. Look at your life, look at your diet, look at your lifestyle, look at your relationships, look at what's going on in your life that you got one of these for that said, hey, snap out of it and be willing to make a change. A lot of times it's diet or your partner or your job it's really pretty obvious if you can get people to understand what it is and get away from the big fear factor. I say to people, stop talking about it. With people with cancer, they get mad at me because they'll say, I have this cancer, my cancer is prostate cancer, I go to my oncologist, my chemotherapy, my radiologist, my, own. Stop talking about it. One of the things I say in my workshops, and you're a scientist, you know this, God has given us the gift every day of 500 million new cells in our body. 500 million get thrown out, 500 million come in. Every 2 days, 1 billion. Every week, whatever that is, every few weeks a new organ, every few months a new body. Every day, God gives us this ability by giving us these brand new cells that are absolutely pure and filled with light. What do we do when we tell our story? What do we do with our negative thinking? We tell those brand new cells what we want them to do, and they do it. And I continue to ask people, Google it. You can see that your whole body is rebuilt every few months. And that's true. That's a scientific fact that you can prove. If that's true, then why are we sick? Why do we keep having the same patterns? Why do we keep having whatever it is? Why don't we just welcome these new cells and be grateful that they're fresh and new and they're healthy? And stop telling them what we don't want, which is talking about my cancer, my MS, my migraines, my back pain, my this, my that. Whenever we do that, we're saying to those cells, this is what I want you to do. And they go, okay. So, change your thoughts, talk about what you want, get a good look at your life and see what's not working for you, because whatever it is being smacked you in the face with a diagnosis, whatever it is. And, what I've noticed with people is that the only difference between somebody that is one step from hospice and comes out and has no cancer anymore, and the other person that has one step from hospice and then they pass, is their own belief on what's possible for them. I've never had cancer. I've never been told I have stage 4 or something. I've never been told that I have X weeks to live. I don't know what that feels like, but I do know that from my experience, and there's a lot of evidence, and it, that people who make a change in their thought process and then what they do with their body and what they do around their body can change it that fast. Cancer is not a death sentence, it's actually a life-changing opportunity, and we need to look at it that way.
And life is simple, we make it complicated and necessary.
Absolutely.
Rob, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is music to my ears and food to my heart, honestly. And I know it's not that I hope that it will make changes on so many people, because we need to understand that we are in times, this 21st century, when Einstein told us that we are energy, that we need to use our energy to heal ourselves.
And you know, we used the energy in this minutes that we spent together. Everybody that watched this or watches it at any time is getting healing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the beauty of it. It's just you and I talking is transmitting this beautiful energy to all the people listening or watching. You know, just like I just, you know, on Sunday, I'm in LA, I'll be at Agape Church with Michael Beckwith.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing a 2-hour live streaming healing event that'll be broadcast all over the world. And, you know, whether you listen to it live or you listen and watch it later, you're going to receive an enormous amount of healing energy. We did one of those in February, and people from all over the world were emailing me saying, my favorite email, you're not going to believe this, comma, but, you know, I was on the live stream and I had cancer, I don't have cancer anymore, I had headaches, I don't have headaches anymore, all these things happened. So it doesn't, you don't have to be in the room, I don't have to touch you, you just surrender into the knowing that you deserve to be healthy and watch what happens.
So is this Mother's Day at 9 a.m.?
No, it's 2:30.
2:30 p.m.?
Pacific.
2:30 to 4:30?
Till 4:30 Pacific time, you can log on to Agape Live and stream it that way. You can come over to Agape, you know.
Yeah, I am very close to
Yeah,
Agape.
you should come.
So, but I will make a short video with just this section and start promoting so people will know.
Oh, thank you.
Rob, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Give me a hug.
Heart to heart.
Heart to heart.
Not liver to liver. Everybody wants to do this, but yeah, heart to heart. Thank you, my brother.
That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
And of course, more than I expected, because I don't expect much, but that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I know that you're doing things, and
Yeah, take your time.
we are good to.
I pushed it back a little. Well, it's only
Oh,
It's only 5 after 11.